to show you guys a couple of things about cleaning this rack up and getting it ready for the truck. These guys, they had this cardboard stuff that was put in each corner. You saw them, those long, round, rolled up cardboard things. Well, they use this packaging tape to hold it on here where it wouldn't go. And at first I was using this choke and carb cleaner to, you know, kind of get that off. But I think it started, I was doing it here on this corner and it took some of the clear off a little bit. Just started to take this is really shiny and this is a little duller. So I didn't want to take and hurt my clear coat. So what I've done is I grabbed just what everybody has sitting around, some WD-40, and it has enough oil to it that it's cutting the, there's a piece right there if you can see it. You can just see, so I'm just putting a little bit of this on there. And then the trick is, you want to rub it with your rag until you kind of get it going, and then move. What I'm doing is I'm sliding over on my rag a little bit where it's a little drier, and it just picks it up. So you get it rubbing where it's kind of nice and saturated, and then move your rag over a little bit and it picks it up. So that's kind of the way. It's just a little trick. You're going to run into this tape stuff all over the rack, and you don't want to use harsh stuff like I started using at the beginning because it will take off the finish. But the WD-40 is doing great, and we're going to put this one about a ½ inch off this. So what we did, y'all, was we went and measured between the rain gutters on the car, and this is in the instructions. And we got the rear measurement was about 51 3/4 of an inch. So what we did was we found the best holes on the mounting bracket that would kind of set us up for success at that measurement. And now we're just snugging them up, but we're going to leave them where we can still slide them. And we're going to do all 6 of the feet this way. The front is a little narrower on the car. It was 51 no, the back was narrower. It's 51 3/8 on the back and 51 3/4 in the front. So it's a little more narrower in the back. So this one's set up to 51 3/8. That's right. And I'll just show you your feet on these little feet that sit down in the gutter. They kind of splay out a little bit. So when we took our measurement from the mounting bracket foot, we just held our tape out, you know, about 3/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch to kind of get a rough estimate. Now we're going to mount the feet, which is these little brackets that sit down in the rain gutter. We're going to mount those on this, and then we can get a true measurement between them to get that distance between our rain gutters. The other thing I did too off camera was I put a coat of wax on this whole bar system so we could just kind of get the first initial, you know, protection from the sun and all that kind of stuff on it. I just used I just used turtle wax, but it has a Carnauba turtle wax, so that should be good. Anyway, just kind of wanted to show you how we're attaching these feet. We took a measurement, and then we can just walk out there and actually just set the thing on. Alright guys, I finally got to the point tonight where I'm cleaning up this little area right here where those feet for the factory rack were sitting. And these little things that the screws go into through the top of that rack are sort of like sheetrock anchors. I mean, they're just metal anchors with a M5 thread pattern, and they're glued into this skin right here. So they're not really going to something structural inside the vehicle. The weight of your luggage and everything on that rack basically was spanned with that little foot on the end of the rack. And so what I'm doing is I'm using a little rubbing compound, and I'm kind of just rubbing this paint and really getting it all clean around here. And then, I mean, as weird as this sounds, this is a paint scraper. I'm kind of just getting right along around the edges of these because they have this glue that kind of got smeared around that little anchor that is not needed. I mean, it's glued down inside there, and I figured what would happen is that would start to yellow or look ugly, that glue. So it's dry, so I just flaked it off and was careful not to scrape my paint. And I did that around on that side and over there so that I can put little screws in there. So then what I did was I went to the hardware store and I got some little stainless steel M5 by 10 millimeter. So they're just 1 centimeter long, and I'll get a zoom up on these later. See if I can hold them up to you a little better. But basically it's a stainless steel Phillips. And what I'm going to do is just run these down in here. And this is the caulk I'm using. It's called Dynaflex 230. And you just get in a tube at Home Depot in the paint section. So it goes on white and then dries clear. So you can kind of see where you got it. And the whole point here is you don't want to make a big mess. So what I do is I squeeze it up to where some sticking up right there, and then I'm just going to run the bottom of this head of this screw in there so that I don't have it everywhere. Just like that. Now I'm going to put this screw on my screwdriver to help guide it like this. Just set it right there. Now I've got that stuff just on the underneath side of that head of that screw, and I'm in fact going to wipe the edge right here so it's not on that, because I don't really want it all over the head of this thing. And I'm just snugging it up like that, and that should seal it. So again, just sealing that down, and I'm going to let that silicone just dry right around the edge of that. You can see there. It's just a Phillips, stainless steel Phillips. It is going to kind of stick up. I wanted to get the button cap, where they're kind of really smooth, and they have an Allen down in the middle of them, and they're a little bit lower profile in this, but the hardware store didn't have them in an M5. Alright guys, a friend dropped by and we were able to put this rack on. I wanted to get some video of it for you because I didn't have the camera with me when we put this thing on, or a tripod or anything. So he was here, me, him, and my son got out there and just put this thing on. So I thought I'd kind of get around it, show you a little bit of how it looks once it's mounted. This is before the tent goes on, obviously, and kind of show you those gutter rail mounts and how sturdy they are and how it all turned out. It does have that full length that piece of U, I don't know what you call it, trim or something that goes down in that channel right there, and then each one of these feet sit down into that U channel, showing in the other video. So there you go. This front part right here is where you can store things. When we go camping, we usually put our kitchen tote up there and our drinking water, and sometimes we put a couple of chairs up there as well. Just depends on where we're going and how long we're staying, but it's a good place for things like that. I think these are the mounting pieces of aluminum. They were just slid down in the tent here. And I'm sure the cover's in there somewhere too.
Okay.
There you go.
And go.
What we're doing is we're reading the instructions first. And we're about to try to mount the tent on top of the rack that we already got on. So I'm just reading through here, and I think we're going to mount this one off the side. Because if it goes off the back, we open up the hatch, it'll hit. So we're going to go off the side. And it looks pretty straightforward. If we go off the side, we don't have to cut the runners. It's got these aluminum runners that go underneath it that mount to the rack. And they're kind of long. And since we're mounting it long ways, they're going to be the right length. If you're going to mount it where it flips off the back, you have to cut those little deals. Alright. So I think the best way to do this is going to be...
Got it.
Alright. This is how we're going to work on it. The bottom is up. And these are the runners. See these?
Yeah.
And they have these pre-drilled holes
Dad.
right there.
No, hurry.
Okay.
Time.
Okay.
I get ready.
These are going to go right here like this. Okay.
Keep going.
Those holes aren't lining up perfect. Looks like the holes are a little bit off, but we'll see if they'll hook up. And then I think we have to reach inside. We're going to have to unhinge it. Reach inside and put the bolt through it with a big washer.
Okay.
See, there's a Velcro thing on this side or over there. Can you do that? We'll lift this up. See, what I wanted to show you is on this side where the mattress is folded, you just reach underneath right here and you can get to where these bolts are on the back side. They need to have a washer on them. And then on that side over there, you have to open the tent door. You have to kind of lift this thing up, open the tent door, and then you can reach in on the floor, okay?
Okay.
But that's how you get to these bolts, and then you're just bolting these two on there. That one's already on. Alright guys, this is a little roller. It's almost like a big old skateboard. Has 6 wheels underneath it that I got at Home Depot. And this is how I store my tent vertically, just like it shipped to me. This is the same orientation they had it, which is the hinge is down, the big hinge. Ladder's there on top of it. And I've rigged up a pulley system here that it's just one I use to hang deer by, actually, to clean them. And it's supposed to hold 200 pounds, so I don't think this thing weighs more than 200. We've lifted it before with it, but anyway, we just lift it up to the top of this door jamb, we back the truck under it, and that's how we get this thing on here. And this is how I kind of store it over to the side during the heavy winter, when I'm probably not going to be camping in heavy snow, and I don't want it to just be getting abused on top of my truck. So here we go. I'm going to show you how we do it. Starting with it over to the far side. This is the side where it opens up. Yeah. So this is the side I want over here on this side of the truck. So I'm going to just bring this down and set it on the ground. Just like that. And just take my little skid. I'm going to leave that there so we can get ropes and stuff under it, because we have to strap it up for the winch. So I usually put 2 of these straps around it. And the main thing is to kind of have it down by the side, on the ends, like this, so that you can keep it from thing I'm a little worried about is they're sliding in on us, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Let that go. Alright, so it helps to have a few people to help you out, and my wife and my daughter came out for a walk about the time we were putting this on here, so they were able to help us. We kind of just backed, like I was saying, we backed in and underneath where I had that pulley system hanging, and once the edge was on, it's kind of easy just for them to balance it. Then I went on top and just guided it from the front, and then my son just was able to push it right here. So pretty much, I mean, it's not that it's super heavy, it's just kind of bulky. Obviously it helps to be tall enough, especially if you've got a lifted vehicle. This vehicle is lifted about 3.5 inches. If it wasn't lifted, it wouldn't be as hard. Okay, the next thing I like to do is just kind of get a ladder. We got it up there. I pulled this thing out a little bit so I have some room to work. And just kind of center it from side to side. And one of the things you can do is take a quick tape measure. And those runners that are running this way, you can just kind of just get an estimate of what they are from side to side. Mine has about 7 inches from the inside of the runner to the inside of that outside pole. That's pretty square. The other thing you want to check is set the ladder aside. You want to open this before you bolt it down and make sure that little fin is not hitting up here. Right up here, you want to make sure you got plenty of room. And for mine, as long as I'm not past this back bar right here, it doesn't hit. So that's the last thing to check. And then again, go to the front, make sure you don't have it on here kind of cattywampus on, cook it like that. Get it straight. And then, man, it's just a matter of sliding on these little brackets right here. These little aluminum brackets fit in. They actually go this way, and you can see how it's cut out for the bar that goes across. So these will slide into the groove that's underneath there and it'll hook on that bar. So all you have to do is take off one of these bolts, and the other one just needs to be loose so it can drop down underneath that pole as you slide it forward. Slide this one in above it. I'm going to do one now. I'll try to get the video up where y'all can see it. Pretty simple though. Simple design.
You can see here how I slid these into these little sliding things. I took the front one off and I hopped it over the bolt there, and now I'll just slide this up here and hook that on. Put a washer on first. And you're going to want to run these up at the same time so this doesn't get up like that or like that. It kind of goes straight like that, so it gets a good bite. You want to over tighten them. You over tighten them and all you're going to do is damage something. So take this and we'll just move to the front. Same thing up here. And you see how right here I've got about a 1/4 inch clearance right there, about a 1/4 inch gap. I had that same thing in the back. And then what I'm measuring, when I measure to see if it's centered, I'm measuring from that there on that, and see how it's on 7 to the inside of this bar. That's kind of what I'm measuring, and I know it's square on there. And that kind of sets it, just inside this bar on this side. And then on the other side, you look at it, from up here, it looks square.